Hey there, Independent Scientologists. Discover a new perspective to your bridge by visiting ao-gp.org. Get in session with remote auditing using the theta meter. Are you curious about where you stand? Head on over to ao-gp.org now and take our free personality test. Join the growing group of independent Scientologists today.
Hi, and welcome to another Scientology Outside of the Church podcast brought to you by the Advanced Org of the Great Plains, ao-gp.org. This is season 8, episode 2. This one's going to be about the code of a Scientologist, an independent Scientologist in this sense. I just did some jumping jacks, so I'm out of breath. Quenton, take it away.
Breathe. No, this is good. So let me just tell you guys how we can kind of ran into this again for the first time because obviously being on course and doing things that you have to do, I was looking for a particular reference about being able to communicate and utter upon things freely in the creed of the Church of Scientology. But then I found the code of a Scientologist, and I was like, oh, this is so good, right? This is so good because what it really gives us is, I guess, the full kind of. I think he says it's a vital code for any Scientologist active in the community. And of course, when we talk about Scientologists, we're talking about one who studies and applies the technology of Scientology, not necessarily one who is affiliated with any church or things of that nature. But uh, like we this is a vital code. And as independent Scientologists, are we rocking this? Are we using this? Are we doing this in our own experience? So yeah.
Yeah, well, it's sort of the basic policies that we go by and how we operate. And I've seen uh lots of interesting things in my years regarding the code of a Scientologist. And there's a code of honor as well. We independent Scientologists and Hubbard are very big on codes because you have
Right.
something to refer to, and it's in writing. If it isn't written, it isn't true.
Mhm.
So let's start off with the preamble on this. He says the Code of a Scientologist was first issued in 1954. In this code, Hubbard provides a Scientologist with guidelines for fighting for human rights and justice through social reform. It's a vital
Mhm.
code for any Scientologist active in the community. The code was revised in 1969 and again in 1973 and is given here in its final version. So it says, as a Scientologist, or independent Scientologist in this case, I pledge myself to the Code of Scientology for the good of all. 1. To keep Scientologists, the public, and press accurately informed concerning Scientology, the world of mental health, and society.
Yeah. And I think this is really good because, we do this podcast, um, Scientology Outside the Church, AOGP, Independent Scientology. We do this podcast because we want to keep the public and those who want to watch the podcast and listen to the podcast accurately informed concerning Scientology, the world, the mental health, and
Mm-hmm.
society. We want to keep, and so we do talk about things that's going on in society. We do talk about things that's going on in life. We talk about finances, we talk about health, we talk about relationships, we talk about these things because this is real world stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to make sure that as Scientologists, we keep the public accurately informed
Mm-hmm.
concerning the subject of Scientology.
Mm-hmm. And it's important to note mental health is a broad subject,
Well, that's true.
far broader than it was in Hubbard's day. I mean, it's really spread out into a lot of things, and as he predicted, it's spread out into pharmaceuticals as well.
Mhm.
And that is something that we have some pandemics going on across the planet dealing with. It's just safe to say that if you're addicted to a controlled substance, we're talking about some sort of a mental health issue. You have
Right.
it.
Period.
Yeah. Period. You have an addiction, and there are lots of those going on in a pandemic format right now. And this is something we've talked about in the other podcasts, is that so many people approach us with drug addictions, whether it's Adderall or it's Chinese fentanyl or it's morphine or
Mm,
it's, I mean,
mhm.
it's just constant and incessant. And this is what's going on. And that's one of the reasons why we do this podcast, like you said, is to keep people informed about this stuff. So that brings us to number two. Use
Yeah,
the
number
best.
two.
Yep.
Oh,
To
go
use
ahead.
go ahead. You want to do that one?
Yeah, I was gonna do it.
Okay.
So number two, to use the best I know of Scientology to the best of my ability to help my family, my friends, groups, and the world.
Mm-hmm.
So we're using this. Like this is something that you operate with. And it's not just in a course room or it's not just in auditing. Like this is something you use.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
I
that's
love it.
that's that's the funny thing that you run into a lot of the time is, and I want to make this a really fine point. I'm going to use a sharp pencil here. A lot of people read uh, the Scientology Dianetics tech, and they tend to apply it to others, but they tend to omit applying it to themselves.
Mm,
You see that a lot. You know,
talk to me about that.
me. I mean, you. Well, whether it's, I mean, the obvious one is ethics conditions and stuff like that.
Oh, I see.
They'll apply ethics to other people, or they'll apply what they think is knowledge, responsibility, and control to somebody else. But the thing is they, for some reason, there's a disconnect there. You see that a lot with the corporate church Scientologists
Hmm.
about, the tone scale and the acquisition of mess, and he who has the most toys wins, and all this sort of thing. And that's a prime example of that, because
Yeah.
they've got it backwards. They've got the have do be instead of the be do have. So
Hmm.
another reason why we do this podcast, and I'm not just, it's just an obvious simple example, is we're trying to help people and give them information to where they can look into it themselves, for their friends, their family, groups, mankind, that this stuff works and it applies. Society is going down the chute rapidly. It's going a lot faster than it was 10 years, especially 20 years ago, in my estimation. And it isn't, oh, those teens and that darn loud music. It's not, get off my lawn. It's not that. It's not that we're getting older and we're seeing things differently. It's that we have comparisons that, what's the latest generation? It's not what comes after millennials.
Gen Z, after millennials, Gen Z, after
Yeah.
Gen Z, I think it's like Gen Doom or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. They don't have anything to compare to. The way life used
Right.
to be. How was life in Alabama when you were a kid? It was a lot less hectic.
Mm.
You weren't tied to a smartphone, that sort of a thing.
Oh, it's called Generation Alpha.
Alpha.
Generation Alpha is also known as Generation COVID, following Gen Z.
Hmm.
If people born in 2010 to 2024, making them the first generation born in the 21st century.
Hmm.
Interesting.
I learned something. So we're trying to,
Wow.
yeah, we're trying to pass this on to the alphas and
Right.
the Z's. That this is how Scientology used to be. Giving them
Right.
giving them examples, and the thing that they know as Scientology is not Scientology. I barely recognize
Mhm.
LRH's original Scientology in the corporate church at all. They're not all of them. There are some really nice people in the church, but you see an awful lot of caustic personalities. I mean, mine. Give me your money. I'll stomp on your head as long as it gets me across the river to get my goal. That type of a thing, and that's been coming on for the last 30 years. I saw it a little bit even in the late 80s. And we're trying to use Scientology to the best of our ability to help our family, friends, groups, and the world the way Hubbard intended it to be. That's the whole point. There's Scientology, the subject, and then there's the corporate church of Scientology. They are two entirely different things. And it has to do with affinity, empathy. It's not cold and clinical. It's like, hey man, what's going on? Let's take care of you. Here's some data that
Right.
and let me check back in with you tomorrow and see how you're doing. Send me a text, let me know how it's going in an hour or two or something like that. It isn't, oh, you're PTS and you're a pariah. Get out of my space. You're affecting my inflow. I mean, you see that stuff all the time in the church.
Jeez.
Yeah. Yeah. So that leads us to number 3. To refuse to accept for processing and to refuse to accept money from any pre-cleared group I feel I cannot honestly help. Boy, I've done
Hmm.
that. I've
Yeah.
done that. And it's not hard. It's not hard because when I didn't do that and I thought, well,
It created more problems.
yeah, well, let's see what I can do. And it's just no, and you have to keep your integrity and we don't do it for money. We're not doing this to get rich. We're not, we want to keep the lights on and everything like that and have a decent quality of life. But if you don't think that you can help somebody, I mean, the definition of responsibility is twofold from Hubbard. It's, to do something or sometimes to do nothing at all.
Hmm.
That's number 3. Number 4,
Yeah.
you want to do that one?
Sure. To decry and do all I can to abolish any and all abuses against life and mankind. This is huge. To decry and do all I can to abolish any and all abuses against life and mankind. Like to understand this as independent Scientologists, like it's still a part of our code to abolish these abuses, to do what we have to do in order to keep this from happening in life and against mankind, in our personal interpersonal relationships, in our workplaces, in our homes, in our lives. Like we have to do all that we can to abolish this and to decry against any of these abuses. Like we don't get to go into our little cocoon bubble of I'm on course and I'm getting auditing and and totally disconnect. I think LRH talks about being in that ivory tower,
Mm-hmm.
um, like yeah, no, that's not how it works. Like life be lifing,
Mm-hmm.
and and we got to be being. So
Yeah,
this
and
is a
that
part of the code.
yeah, and that's an ongoing thing. I'm going to go back to the corporate church during COVID. The corporate church, I mean, they were given orders at the local class 5 organizations that they had to manually disinfect all of the walls on a daily basis. Think about that.
Yep.
And some of these organizations with these big buildings and everything. So what I see there is I see Miscavige not doing number 4. I'm sorry if it's unpopular and you think we're tinfoil hat people or whatever. You're more than welcome to stop listening to this podcast and unsubscribe or leave us a nasty message or whatever. But I think it's pretty obvious now that COVID was a sham.
It was a
And
mess.
yeah, it was a mess and it was a manipulation of global proportions that we have not heretofore seen prior. And I will decry abuses against life and
Yes.
mankind. And this is
Right.
one step in a series of step, and it was a huge step in let's see how much bullshit we can feed them and how much they'll eat.
Was it right? And to prep them
For the for the
to
next
prepare
things.
them for there you go. There
Yeah.
you go. And
Yeah.
so I hereby I hereby decry, those kinds of abuses as well because it's just not it doesn't work. And we want to make sure that we're trained and had it enough in order to be able to effectively
Hmm.
abolish any
That's
and
right.
all abuses because we want to make sure that we're capable of doing that. So that's why I'm here.
That's right. That's right. And that ties into number 5 to expose and help
Mhm.
abolish any and all physically damaging practices in the field of mental health.
Yes,
Uh,
God.
have you seen the statistics? And we've talked about this with our personality tests as well. Have you seen the statistics of profits in the mental health field post-COVID?
No,
They skyrocketed.
I can imagine.
So it's that, okay, you see something going on, problem, reaction, solution. Who benefits from that? Well,
Hmm.
they obviously did, and the pharmaceutical companies obviously did. So we've tried to expose in other podcasts and bring this whole thing up that you are being manipulated as
Hmm.
in a society as a whole, and we went from 60 to 65% of our personality tests saying that a person was PTS out of the gate when they finished the personality test. Now it's 95% of the OCAs personality tests that we get that have a low D column below positive 32. And when I say low, I mean way low,
Mm.
below zero, and sometimes 20, 30 in the negative
Yeah.
after COVID. So we're trying to expose this and say, look, open your eyes,
Hmm.
this is what's going on here, and you don't have to be the adverse effect of a society that wants you to be happy owning nothing and you'll like it. This is a mental health issue. We're more and more seeing a globalistic mental health manipulation, and we're going to continue to point this out in every way that we can and get people independent Scientology the way Hubbard intended it to be, and that this stuff works, and it makes you an aware critical thinker to where you can look at these things going on and you can point this out to your friends and family like we were talking about earlier.
Hmm.
But you got to be able to see it yourself, and first step is education, and that's what we're trying to do.
And not become the adverse effect of it, or not become affected, not succumb to it, right?
Right.
Like that's a thing, right? Like where you are capable of seeing it and be like, God, this is like a lot going on, it's crappy, but then not going down tone because of it, right? Not getting like into this whole space of I can't do anything, apathy or fear
Right.
about it,
Yeah.
right?
The solid seriousness, like Hubbard says, he says, look, this is a deadly serious activity that we're doing. And it was interesting. If I can take a side note for a second, and if you want me, if we need to edit this out and it goes too far sideways, let me know, and I'll edit
Okay.
it out after the podcast. But
We'll keep Osabi.
when when we were doing the four-way Zoom call with all of our solo one course students the other day, and you were part of those four people. It really hit home with me when we were doing the word clearing and all of that, and there was
Hmm.
this esprit de corps kind of feeling, that there was this group feeling that I hadn't felt for a really really long time, and I found it very
Hmm.
interesting when you know what I'm talking about, right?
I think so. Give
where
me more.
where we were doing a demo of a star rate checkout on technical D grades,
Yeah, I
and
remember that.
yeah, and it just really hit me how being in a group of people and everything, and having this technology, it is serious, clearing words
Oh
and
yeah.
making sure that people understand it, and having standard tech, and watching you guys work together, and you clearing the words and all that stuff. It was profound for me.
Yeah,
It was
it was profound for me too.
right, that
Especially the word that I had to clear. I had to clear time. I was
right.
like, wait, what?
Right. But and I also, and this isn't a throwing you under the bus thing or anything like that. It was just, here I am with these three guys. They're on their solo course. Two have done the student hat. You've done the basic study course, and we're clearing one of the references that is in every check sheet in Scientology about degrading the technology, and that to the degree that you know this information and you apply it, it just really really hit me that I have to keep doing what I'm doing. You have to keep doing what you're doing. They have to keep doing
Yeah.
what they're doing, because there's a sanity here There's a sanity
Definitely.
here that goes overlooked when you're dealing in a virtual situation. And I thought, I need to do this sort of thing more to get this across to people, and we need to record it. We need to put it in the podcast of us doing star rate checkouts with people, because the people here in the podcast, people hear about this stuff, but they don't see it in action. It's sort of like, well, an engine has 8 cylinders and it has this, and you're like, okay, so it gets me to my destination. Thanks, bye. It needs to be more than that. And when people actually see
Mm-hmm.
this technology being applied, it gives them some insight into the fact that this technology might just do what it's supposed to do, and that's clean up mental health for
Mm-hmm.
people, because you don't see this anywhere else on the planet. And
Right.
in sermon, Pastor Jonathan is going to turn it back over to Pastor Quenton.
Yeah, no, I think it's beautiful the way you spotted that, and you pull it to a place where my own ethic level and my own responsibility level goes up dramatically because I see the workability of it. I see why this is necessary. And so to expose and abolish any and all physical damaging practices in the field of mental health, that is something that you become so much more clear about when you're sitting and doing these courses
Yep.
and you're doing this work and you're getting this stuff in, because
Yep.
like there's no way I can know what I know and then not speak that I know what I know and see how it can help somebody to improve their life or improve their condition. Like, shame on you. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? If you don't, right? Like you know what you know and you know how this can help and you say nothing? You just said nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
Which brings us to number 6.
Yeah.
To help clean up and keep clean the field of mental health. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And you and one of the ways we do that is the website, the podcast, pointing these things out. I don't beat the
College.
and the college. Yeah, our college website. Yeah, I don't beat this drum much, but there's something to be said that if you take the time and you're honest with yourself, and you actually just do one of our free courses, and you start to apply that data, and you find out that it's true for you, you can see how we could clean up the field of mental health. Because from my viewpoint, I can't speak for you, Quenton, but I think I can. The field of mental health is slowly usurping the self-determinism and pan-determinism away from the world populace, slowly but surely chipping away at it with all of these new um, uh, mental disorders. In fact, one of them, I'm going to send you the link. It was on TikTok last night and the night before. There's a mental disorder, and I'm not going to get into the tinfoil hat side of it, but there's a new mental disorder that 75 people on the planet have, that, and I don't believe this for a minute. I think there is another agenda here, that people are seeing people with demonic faces, and they have the drawings and
Okay.
everything, and it showed up on 2 different local news feeds, from local affiliate stations in the United States. And if you've ever looked on YouTube, you can see they span out with all of these affiliate stations, and they're all saying the same script of news all at
Mm-hmm.
all at once. Now,
Yeah, please send
the
me that.
yeah, it's fantastic, and that's what we're trying to do, is clean up mental health. Because one of the reasons, I don't want to bring this up real quick because we haven't talked about this, and this is super important, and this has to do with number 6. Currently, they're trying to abolish TikTok in the United States as an
Yeah,
app.
I saw that.
Okay. Well, we got an election coming up. Senators have been caught out by people posting things on TikTok and everything, and them getting in trouble. And these senators are some of the ones that are pushing this bill to get rid of TikTok. But the thing is and TikTok, isn't perfect. Nothing is perfect, but they have the media locked down in the United States and almost globally. The narrative is
Mm-hmm.
what the narrative they want it to be. And TikTok is one of the last stands where people can draw people together and reach people without it being controlled. And a lot of this has to do with mental health, because when you lie to somebody to control them, that has to do with mental health.
Oh, absolutely.
Period. And this is something we really need to watch for. And there's another open protocol that bypasses anybody trying to control an app like TikTok. It was on TikTok. Okay. It's been developed and everything like that, to where maybe they can ban TikTok in the United States, but all you got to do is get a VPN and reinstall that, from another country. And then you've got TikTok again. You and I don't have to worry about it, but obviously they're trying to shut down the narrative.
Right.
And that has to do with mental health. And Hubbard predicted this in 1952. Once the technology got in the shades of night, in that Philadelphia Doctor Course 23, Shades of Night, we only have a short period of time before the technology advances to the degree that they enslave all of mankind. I mean, it is, and I don't have anything against robots, and I don't have anything against AI. I think if it's used properly, it can help mental health in a lot of ways. People won't have to work crappy jobs, but you can see
Soul
that
sucking job.
yeah, I mean, you could see that things could go horribly, horribly wrong really quickly when you have robots that are faster than humans as far as response time, AI.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and and I got to say this too, the pharmaceutical companies are throwing money by the billions, with a B, billions of dollars towards AI. And at the same time in the United States, they're decrying open source AI LLMs. They're trying to
Open source
pass
AI. Okay.
they're trying to pass a law that open source AIs are illegal. Why would you do that? Because you want to control the narrative. Meta, Google, Microsoft, OpenAI, these are the people that are behind this. They don't want any more competition. They've learned from the competition. Any of the open source models they borrowed from, they took their code and all of this, and now that they've figured out what these smarter guys are doing, who are out there doing it for the benefit of all mankind and mental health, now they want to make them illegal, because now they can stand on their shoulders and control and this is the last thing I have to say about this, but about mental health, is just like Google doesn't show you things that they don't want to show you when you do a search. Like Ellerate says, the hardest thing to spot is a missingness. Same thing's going to happen with AI. AI is only going to know what they want you to know. That
Okay.
has to do with mental health. If you can't find the information that you're seeking to answer the questions that you have, whether it's philosophically, whether it's educationally, which philosophically it is too,
Yeah.
you're being controlled. Your
Just
mental health is being
like just
controlled.
to give you that awareness and that knowledge for just your own peace of mind about certain things.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's mental health. And that's what we're trying to do and talk about here, is because we're applying independent Scientology to the 21st century. And we're at some point, we hope to have an AI that can sit there and it can be a clone or a copy of LRH taking you in
Yeah.
session on book 1, or it could be an AI that takes you in session on with your theta meter and handles you as appropriately as a human auditor. And I'm not saying we're trying to replace people, but I'm saying you could really clear a planet quick if you could do that.
Yeah.
And
If you can get it, it's interesting. I was watching a movie, and you might be able to go see it. I forgot the name of it now. I'll remember as I'm talking. But the guy gets arrested, and it's almost satirical, but it was just interesting. The guy gets arrested, and he goes in, and he has to sit down with a therapist. And so this robot was like, I'm the resident therapist, and I'm here to help you. So tell me what, and the therapist is trying to help this guy, right? And he's like, this is some BS, right?
Hmm.
But it's interesting that the direction that it's already going, and that
Yeah.
was a movie came out in the early 2000s. It was almost 20 years ago, right?
Hmm.
Fast forward to 2025, 2030, and forward 2050, like this is a real thing that's happening. And how dare we not be prepared as independent Scientologists? How dare we not be prepared to combat that and
Right.
to give a healthier, more robust, more real answer to it? Absolutely clean up the field. And,
Right.
and I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this just for the record. The field of mental health is not just talking about the industry of mental health,
Right.
right? The field
Absolutely.
is also dealing with activity, any activities around it, right? So when you're talking about the field, this could be your own activities that regard your own. You got to clean it up. You got to clean it up.
Yeah. Well, that's what
And
KRC is: knowledge, responsibility, and control.
there you go. There you go.
You
Gosh, this.
got to do something about it. We've got a podcast on deck that Scientology girl and have been working on, and I sent you the data on it about all these weird ideas that people have about independent Scientology. I mean, weird ideas. It's like, where in the world did you get that? But see,
Really?
yeah. I mean, it's just bizarre, and that goes into mental health. You know, that's fine if you don't like the subject. Don't talk about it. Don't view it. Don't read about it. But when you start to get into these weird ideas about things and you don't know anything about it, you start getting into a realm of bashing another form of mental health. I'm not
Yeah.
bashing psychologists. I'm not bashing psychiatrists. Hubbard has his opinions on it and everything like that. But he also says, look, the primary thing with Scientology and auditing is communication. There are
Mm-hmm.
some really good practitioners out there who aren't Scientologists that are psychologists and psychiatrists who are practitioners,
Right.
and they communicate well and they do things for
Mm-hmm.
people. They don't push drugs.
Right. Right.
There's nothing wrong with that. What's true for you is true for you. But when you start hiding things and you start perverting data and you start attacking things that you don't even understand, who has the mental health issue?
Who who crazy?
Who crazy?
Right.
Crazy be crazy. And
Right.
so so
Food be
and
foolish.
right. So that brings us to 7: to bring about an
Sure.
atmosphere of safety and security in the field of mental health
Yeah.
by eradicating its abuses and brutality. Brutality comes in many forms, and so does abuse. And
Oh, that's so good.
the abuses and brutality, it's a very fine line in mental health. When you have somebody that is fat shaming somebody on Facebook, you have somebody that's bullying a teen to the point to where they want to kill themselves or kill themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and nothing's being done about it.
Right.
You and I both have spent a lot of time on Facebook, and we've had our run-ins with people and everything, and you send it to
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, and Facebook is like, we don't care.
Yeah.
We don't see the problem with this. There wasn't any hate speech here. And you're like, what?
This person called me everything but a child of God.
Right.
And I'm supposed to be okay with this?
Right, and there's a quote that Zuckerberg was quoted in saying that the people that work for him at Meta, or formerly Facebook, were saying, "Look, we need to do something about this infighting and everything." And he says, "Don't you say that to me again. Leave it alone, because it keeps people coming back."
People were watching, yeah.
Right. Everybody loves a train wreck. That's why the on YouTube and everything like that, it's all of these controversial titles, and it's just like the tabloids at the grocery store and everything. That's what we're trying to handle here. Is I will admit, we put controversial titles on our YouTube videos to get you to listen to it and go, oh, wait a minute, it's something else. Because that's the only thing people will, if it isn't a train wreck, they're not interested because they have the attention span of a goldfish. Yeah, I said it. Or less. And my dogs have a better attention
but
span than some
that's a
people
mental
on
health
YouTube.
issue.
That's a mental
Hold on a
health
second.
issue. That's
That's
right.
a mental health thing. Like, and
Yeah.
I'm not talking about like freaking ADHD and bullshit like that. What I'm talking,
Yeah.
I mean, I say bullshit because people be peopling, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the fact. I'm talking about the fact that one cannot hold their attention on something with their own self-determinism for a duration of time as to resolve the matter or whatever. It's too scattered, too squirrel. Ooh, like
Yeah. Yeah.
something distracts them, something shiny rolls down the road, and you got to take a look at that. It's so much, and
Uh-huh.
so being able to like bring about a sphere of safety, atmosphere of safety and security, like this is what we're talking about. I'm glad you brought up bullying because I think I do want to do a podcast on that,
Absolutely.
on
I'd love to.
bullying and our response to that because I think that'll be huge because we are in the sphere of trying to bring about that atmosphere of safety and security.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know,
In our own way, with our own
hmm
subject, technology, topic, whatever you want to call it. But safety and security is because you have an affinity, reality, communication, and understanding of something. And to the degree that you
right.
feel safe and secure is to the degree that you go up the tone scale in Scientology, the emotional tone scale. If you don't feel secure, you're down the tone scale in fear or hiding at worst.
Wow. Wait. Say that again. Say that again. To the degree.
To the degree that you don't feel safe and secure is to the degree that you're out of ARC with your environment and you're going to be down in fear. Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
this comes with mental health. Is you're dealing with a media that wants to keep you, and Hubbard talked about this decades ago, the dangerous environment. If we make the
Mm-hmm.
environment dangerous enough for them, they'll listen to us and we can control,
Mm-hmm.
continue to lie to them. And then you drop down into the lower bands of the tone scale. I'm looking at the tone scale here at the office. Bottom of the tone scale, hiding. What did we do
Yeah.
during COVID?
Hide, hid. Everybody hid from everybody. Everybody got
That's right.
masked and UV suits
Yep.
and
Divide
scuba
and
diving
conquer.
gear.
That's
Like
right.
it was just crazy.
And while we were all in hiding, and now I can't speak about, anywhere else other than where I was. While we were all in hiding, right up the street and out in front of my apartment complex, Kansas City, Missouri, what were they installing? Everybody else is indoors. They were installing 5G
Towers.
access points,
Yeah.
towers
Yeah.
on the street lights and everything like that, because
hmm
that was a big part of it. Not going to go any further than that on
Well,
it.
yeah, you and I are talking about that separately. But I will say this. It's interesting because I love what you said to the degree that you don't feel safe and secure, to the degree you go downtown, right? And you are out of ARC with your environment.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was just talking to somebody about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? The whole
Uh-huh.
thing.
Yep.
And that's what that person was aware of. And we talked about it, and I'm like, when you feel safer in your environment, you can actually go up. Like when you feel fear or threat or angst or anxiety and all this other stuff going on or whatever, it actually keeps you suppressed. And that is abusive. It's abusive. And the people who perpetuate that kind of fear mongering or whatever you want to call it is abusive. And it is our job to make that go away,
Right.
eradicate it.
Right.
So
We have to
I get
point it out at a minimum.
at a minimum, yeah, correct. Number 8, it says to support true humanitarian endeavors in the field of human rights. Love this.
Mm-hmm.
Love this. Like to really like somebody or people who are doing truly humanitarian things to help people's life be better. We as Scientologists, as independent Scientologists, we support humanitarian endeavors, true humanitarian endeavors in the field of human rights.
Right. Greatest good for the greatest number. You got to help the third and fourth dynamic. You don't just, I mean mine it. That was my whole point. And you're not, I mean, the church does the whole volunteer ministers thing, and they send people in yellow jackets with yellow tents and all this stuff. But that's, and I'm not saying that that's bad. If they're doing touch assist, I don't really know. But to me, it sounds like a PR more of a PR event than it does what used to happen with like CCHR, Citizens Commission on Human Rights, and things like that. And they really, at that point in time 30 years ago, were standing up David versus Goliath in, you know, as far as Ritalin goes in schools and things like that, that they could prescribe Ritalin to your kid without even telling you. You know, that's a humanitarian
Yeah.
endeavor. And I mean, you could go on and on and on and on. I mean, you could train people on touch assists and nerve assists and bring back to life assists. You could, I mean, or you could just educate people. Humanitarian endeavors. If I had the money, I would go out into the bush in Africa here, and I would go into some of these really remote places, and I would teach these kids about study tech. I'd give them all an iPad, and I'd sit there and I'd say, "Look, guys,
Nice.
you know, I'm gonna make you guys the smartest guys in all of Zimbabwe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these are the things that need to be done. Humanitarian endeavors start with education, in my estimation. But
I love that.
we need to support, not just create, but support other true humanitarian endeavors as well, whether they're based on Scientology or not, in my estimation.
Well, I'll tell you this. I love what you just said, and I support that endeavor.
Thank
If
you.
you want to do
But
that.
having been born on the continent, I have a very high affinity for Africans.
I love it. I love it. Wow.
Number
You want to do
9,
number 9?
yeah, to embrace the policy of equal justice for all.
Beautiful.
Now, I
And we
will,
do.
and we do, and I will say that justice is only necessary when ethics fail to be gotten in.
Sure.
So you can back that up and go, if you can try and get ethics in an area, you don't need justice. But that again, that comes down to education, educating on people on these subjects, and telling them about conditions in life, whether they know about it or not, the Scientology axioms or the Dianetic axioms. I've been doing the Dianetic and Scientology axioms for the last 2 years with new PCs. And I'm getting to the point to where I'm going to be able to actually do, remember how we were talking about doing a retreat
Absolutely.
and doing a workshop where we go over the axioms in Dianetics and Scientology, both of them, and educating these people on how this stuff works. And if you go over this and you point people out and say, give me an example of that, you show them this. I'm getting there. I'm getting the pitch, so to speak, where I say it almost the same every time. You don't need justice when you educate people properly, but justice also is being able to educate people where others are preventing them from being educated on stuff. Now, that doesn't mean they have to believe it. What's true
Mm-hmm.
for them is true for them. But if we do a retreat and we have people come and do these workshops with us and everything, and they walk out in a far better position than they were before, because they understand this data and they can go out and do these workshops themselves and do retreats themselves. It spreads rapidly. So, you know, that's a form of justice in itself. It's a little left turny, but there we have it.
No, hold on a second. You heard it here, folks.
Mhm,
Okay. Jonathan Burke, Executive Director of AOGP, has made it clear, has laid out a whole plan, a whole vision
mhm.
for things that we could do and we will be doing in order to put these justice in and make things go right. So I am 100% backing that. And I want to say that any of you who are listening and want to, per the policy, to embrace the policy of equal justice for all, to support true humanitarian endeavors in the field of human rights. Like if that rings true to you, get in communication with us. Talk to
Yeah,
us. Let us know what you need. Let us know what you want to do. Let us know how we can make all this happen because we do truly support it.
yeah. We want to do the pay it forward thing, and you know, go forth and deliver this data yourself unto your flock type of a thing,
Yeah.
and get it across. And you know, this is how you do it. This is the blueprint for this thing, to where you can go out and you can get justice applied to where we don't have a bad education system in any country in the world, and so on.
Hmm.
But before the doors close, we need to get this thing off the ground. So
Well,
Uh,
number 10. I'm sorry, number nine. Number nine. Wait, no, where are we? Number 10.
10.
To work for freedom of speech in the world.
Woohoo. Ooh, boy, there's a big one. That's
Big
right.
one.
Right. Right. And that means that nobody should be shamed into suppression.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You guilty until innocent until proven guilty instead of guilty until proven innocent.
Right.
And that
But,
you
but,
should
but
be able
now,
to say your piece.
absolutely. But isn't shame a thing like, isn't shame based on withholds?
Yeah.
Like like
Well, it's based on withholds because, like LRH says, the biggest overt of all is to make somebody wrong for their own overts. Period. And
oh.
and why? And that comes from the State of Man Congress, 1960. You can find it on our website
Mm-hmm.
through SoundCloud. The other thing is that the only reason, same lecture series, the only reason that a person criticizes another person is to minimize their own overts against them, to make them an easy target. Oh, he's a piece of shit anyway. That's
Right.
why people criticize people. Now,
Right.
I'm not saying that, and I'm going to go here. I'm not saying that somebody shouldn't have, one of these women shouldn't have stood up and said, Bill Cosby raped me and drugged me. That's different.
Okay.
That's different. Okay. Now, innocent until proven guilty. But I mean, we all know the story there and everything like that. That's not
But you
that's
said,
not
but
shaming.
to criticize, so but say it again, to criticize another thing for their own overts.
Their own overts, because what you're doing, what criticism is that you're trying to minimize the overt that you committed against them by saying, well, they're a piece of shit anyway.
Right.
So it
And you
doesn't
did this
matter.
to me, and you did this anyway, and you da 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 da.
Right.
And so by doing that,
It makes
you're
it okay.
you're le right, you're lessening your own overs and withholds because you want to make them a target. Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
Right. And
And
that's
and
that's
so
what you see every day in the media.
so that being said, then by helping a person get off their own overs and withholds, they are less susceptible to shame.
Well,
Is that what
that's
I'm
right.
hearing?
That's right, because you can't be shamed if you feel good about yourself and you know that your integrity is high. Duh.
Right. Right.
But you don't know that you have overts and withholds. And this technology it's not just groundbreaking. It is a fact. It is a
Yeah.
fact. When I do L11 on somebody, my
Yes,
biggest
God.
problem, my biggest problem is once they get done with handling their overts and withholds on L11, they just want to go play. They just want to go play. And I have the hardest time getting them back on the bridge because they're sort of like the kid that
I'm
couldn't walk and his
free.
legs were in braces like Forrest Gump, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden the braces came off and they can go run, and he runs down the road and all of his braces fall off, and it's literally, that's a great analogy of it, is they just want to go play because they're so unencumbered by these withholds that they had to pull back because they felt like they did something as somebody else that they went into agreement with, and they're not that person, and they've cleaned up the things that they did, and they're really themselves. I just got goosebumps. This stuff works.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And to work for freedom of speech in the world, you have to unencumber people to to be able to speak their truth, their piece, and flourish and prosper across their dynamics, because all beings are basically good. The goodness is really buried pretty deep in some individuals, the top 1% of the 1% globally. But that's the thing, is we can't let them suppress these good I want to go plays in people, that when people want to go out and help people, they want to go out and be creative. They want to make people smile. They want to
Mm-hmm.
make people laugh, because that's the effect. And it's a Scientology axiom, is the greatest impellation of a Thetan is to go out and cause an effect, a good one. That's
Good.
freedom.
Yeah.
That's freedom of speech, period. Go out and cause an effect. What are you doing when you're speaking? You're
That's
causing an
right.
effect. So that brings us to 13. To help
Uh,
Scientology,
no, we're
or
on number
12,
11.
well, 11,
11.
excuse me, I'm jumping forward.
Mhm.
To actively decry the suppression of knowledge, wisdom, philosophy, or data which would help mankind, not just independent Scientology.
Mhm.
You know, what's true
That's
for you
good.
is true for you. Is that is Hubbard was the greatest distiller of information I think the planet has ever seen, at least in this iteration. And he saw that there was valid data in many, many areas of knowledge, wisdom, and philosophy, or just data alone. And he could collate that data and go, okay, this is true, this is not true. But the thing is Scientology doesn't have all the answers. It just gives you the ability to find the answers. And I think that that's the best definition of knowing how to know, is you know what's true and you know what's not true, and you know how to separate those out. And there are lots of valuable pieces of data. There's so much information that has come to light since Hubbard passed away. I mean, they just recently said
Mhm.
was it last week or the week before, that plants are sentient beings.
Yes.
Let
I
me say
love
that
that.
again. Plants are sentient beings. They can see, they can hear, they can feel.
Wow.
And the picture, I just went and looked for a picture of LRH to use on a post in the college the other day, and there's always that picture there of him putting an e-meter on a plant. This was in 1963, 1964. He did this.
I remember that picture.
And people are like, ha ha ha, what a nut, what a crackpot. And they just came out and said that plants are sentient beings in 2024. Who's the nut and the crackpot now?
I love it. I love it. Well, I think what's it's also interesting too is it talks about the suppression of knowledge, wisdom, philosophy, and data. That they've kind of gone back to the book burning, book bannings. They've gone back to this whole thing of like just cancel culture. That's the thing. Like all this stuff where where anything that violates one's sensibilities or whatever the case may be has to be has to be it's a part of suppression.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes back to number 10 rather, work for the freedom of speech in the world. So these are things that we stand for as independent Scientologists. Like we want you to be able to speak freely. If you want to post something, post it on comment.
Right,
You can comment. You
right.
ain't never seen on any of the comments. You can go back and read comments on all of our posts. You ain't never seen on any comment. We don't say like that. You can't be it. We very gingerly and happily respond
Mm-hmm.
if we need to.
Yeah,
Like, and so we want you to be able to communicate freely. And anybody who has an issue with that, comment about it.
yeah. And that's the whole thing, is that suppression of knowledge, wisdom, philosophy, or data. That's, to me, that's the biggest overt any society can do to their people.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's huge.
without those things, what have you got? You got nothing.
Yeah. I remember you talking on a podcast about technology, like I think it was about a car that was powered by water. I mean, you talk about a lot of stuff that has been suppressed. I think you talked about
Free energy.
AI before,
Yeah.
free, yeah, just a lot of stuff. And so I think it's huge. Let's continue though. So number 12 is to support the freedom of religion. Of course, that's very self-explanatory. We definitely support the freedom. You don't have to be a Scientologist religiously, as it were. I think most Scientologists don't even consider themselves a religious Scientologist, more so somebody who practices and works with a applied religious philosophy. But we definitely encourage and want to support the freedom of religion. And so,
Absolutely,
whoever you
absolutely.
are, whatever groups you come from, you can still use Scientology to better your life experience. Because I think LRH talked about how we're not really so much interested in the why, but the how,
Right.
right?
Right. If it
And
gets you there,
so
baby, it gets you there.
it gets you, you'll get it. But if your why through your own religion, I live in Malaysia, so a lot of Muslim and Hindu. Like in your own religion, I can have a very wonderful conversation with people of all religions
Mm-hmm.
because number one, I support your religious freedoms, and number two, like I have interest. I'm interested in you. I'm interested
Oh
in
yeah,
what
me
your
too.
viewpoint on it.
Me too. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, let's sit down and have some bubble tea and let's get going and talk about this stuff. You know.
I love it.
So number 13, to help Scientology orgs and groups ally themselves with public groups. Well, and that's what we were
Hmm.
talking about going out into the bush. Independent Scientology, and I have to
Yeah.
make that differentiation,
Organizations.
and I hate that I have to do that, but I have to, because they aren't one and the same thing, and you have to differentiate. But we want to get the data out there, and what's true for them is what's true for them, and I want to know their data, just like we were saying with bubble tea. Tell me about this. I sat down at length with the indigenous people in North Dakota and had long conversations with them, and I thought, damn, these guys have the same viewpoint I do. Why didn't I know this before? It's you don't know until you
Yes.
talk. You don't know until you talk to
You
people.
would. How would you ever know that the people in the bush, right?
Yeah,
How would you know it?
right. All
But they
right.
get it.
They get
Well,
it.
I want to say something. I want to say something to that too, though. Obviously, this podcast is called Scientology Outside the Church, and so again, anyone who's listening, know that that's the perspective that we come from because we see the difference, right? We see that there's a difference in corporate versus independent, and
Mhm.
so just understand that as we're reading these and as we're going through this stuff, we're giving it to you as others who are interested in Scientology outside of the church. And so notice it doesn't say here the church itself, but it talks about Scientology orgs and groups. So that means that as a business, for example, you could be. I was working for a business in Minnesota that was a mortgage company, but the mortgage company used LRH Tech, admin tech, and was very, very successful doing it, right?
Mhm.
Using admin tech. And that would be a group. That would be an organization. That would be somebody who says, I'm using Scientology and I want to help my business. I want to help, the people who work for me, the whole bit. And
Mhm.
so you still qualify, and we want to ally, them with public groups. We want to get them allied with other organizations. How do we connect that? So please, if you are a business owner, if you're a dentist, if you're a chiropractor, if you're, whatever, and you want to use admin tech in your business, if you want to get some help with that, by all means, this is the place to do it. As Independent Scientology can help you.
Absolutely. And we'll point you in the right direction, and just pro bono, and say, here's where you need to get started, and the rest is up to you. And then you could do the basic study course for free. You can go from there, and if you want some consultation on it, we have rates for that, and we can help your business, your organization flourish and prosper. You just ask. It's all there.
Yes. Number
So
13, to help Scientology orgs, I'm sorry, number 14, sorry,
14.
to
Mhm.
teach Scientology at a level it can be understood and used by the recipients. My favorite.
Mhm.
To teach Scientology at a level it can be understood and used by the recipients. This is actually a part of the code of being a Scientologist, of a Scientologist. This is a part of the code. You, this is not this, and I was telling Jonathan before, this is not this ivory tower kind of thing where only this elite us know what this thing is, and you peons couldn't possibly. No, we want this to get so
Yeah.
distilled. I think you said the word distill before, but so available that it's at a level that can be understood and used by
Yeah,
those who seek the knowledge.
yeah,
Mhm.
you can't be an elite, and that's, unfortunately, that's what's happened with parishioners in the church. Is just, you wouldn't
Yeah.
understand. It's above and beyond you. Don't talk to me. Move that cell phone away from me. Be gone.
Hmm.
That's it's you see it. It's just way too many videos on YouTube with that particular behavior. And I mean, there are Scientologists that are protesting outside of Big Blue over on Sunset in Hollywood for reform to the church. Reform.
Mm.
Do I
I
think
didn't
it's
know
gonna?
that.
Yeah. Do I think it's gonna that the church is gonna reform? No. because
So
they've
wait a
got
minute.
over a
So that,
billion dollars in a bank account. You don't need to.
yeah,
You peons know not of what it is that we do. We do not need to.
right.
But see, that's the thing. And LRH says when that happens, you need to start over again.
Yeah, wow. This is so there's a reformation. Oh, this is really interesting. And I tell people this, let me say something, because people have a lot to say about Scientology, the subject. And I say, you got to understand when you look at Hinduism, 5,000 plus years old, or maybe longer than that, 10,000 plus years old. When you look at certain religions and certain viewpoints, Catholicism even, like you look at these things, they've been around for centuries, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you look at Scientology as a subject, like the full body of breadth of knowledge of Scientology as a subject on planet Earth, the way it's been compiled, it's been what, 70 plus years, 75 years almost?
Yep.
Like
Uh-huh.
there's still this, there's so much to unpack and so much to evolve as it relates to the organizational side of things. And so
Mm-hmm.
we as independent Scientologists, reformationists, whatever you want to call us, we see something different. And we want to make sure that we get this to the public, to recipients who are reaching for this knowledge on whatever level, need for change, hope, help, like who are reaching for this on whatever level. We want to get it to people in a way that they can understand it and use it. This is why all the courses are online. This is why this stuff is available. You can get it. You ain't
Right.
got to go down to your local big building down the street because it's pretty. You can go right in your bedroom. You can go right on your laptop. You can go right on your tablet, and you can get the data. You can get the tech, and you can use it in your life. This is huge.
Yeah, I like to liken it to the original, not the more recent, not that he wasn't doing the same thing, but the original Martin Luther of Lutheranism.
Yes,
And what,
yes,
the posting on the doors and all of that. Well, posting
yep.
on the doors, having a website, having a podcast. We're posting on the doors.
2024 version, right?
Right, right. We're asking for a reformation, and basically where we're at is where original Scientology was in the 50s. It's
Right.
it's the old west type of a thing until we can reform. And I'm not saying it's clear to me that third dynamic aberration is a real thing
Of course.
in groups. And like what he talks about in keeping Scientology working, number one is that the best things that have ever been created on this planet have been created by an individual, not a group. And that's sort of the direction we're headed with the virtual org type of a thing, is that you keep it pure and you keep that data there, and you can and like, we're doing workshops where you say, maybe it's a husband and wife team at most, and go forth and create your own flock and pass this stuff on, and pay it forward. It has to
Hmm.
be done at a level that people can understand. And it occurred to me that just clearing basic definitions of Scientology, auditing, and everything wasn't cutting it for pre-clears because they didn't understand. I mean, Scientology is great that you can audit somebody and they don't even have to believe that it works, and it works. It works.
Hmm.
But if they understand the underpinnings of it, the axioms of Dianetics and Scientology, and you really spend the time, I spend between 8 and 15 hours with people going over these axioms. There's about 270 of them. They then understand and start to apply it. You're creating somebody that now understands auditing to the degree that they're like, I could do this too. I get it. I see how this could be. But
Hmm.
you know, you have to cut it down to these little bits of information. The axioms, the urge to survive is the greatest urge that a being has. It's one of the first ones in Dianetics, and that's paraphrased, poorly paraphrased. But you have to get it across to people, and it needs to be understood. You can't dazzle them, but baffle them with bullshit. You have to dazzle them with brilliance and get it down. Like what was it, Martin Luther King, the more recent one? The way that he put things, he was so good at putting things in a way
Hmm.
that people could metabolize it and think with it without talking down to them.
Right.
Hubbard does that so well in so many places. Not the technical stuff, but
Yeah.
the beginning stuff, fundamentals of thought, new slant on life, that type of thing. So this is something that we endeavor to do, and not cut people off from us and say, well, like you said, we know it all and you know nothing. We're far better than you. 15.
And and and,
Oh,
and
go
and
ahead.
I love what you said. Last thing on this, I love what you said when you said about the virtual putting the letter on the door of the corporate church or whatever. Like what we do very unapologetically. Like we use our real names. Like, you know what I mean? Like we're unapologetic and unfearful and unmoved by what other people might be feel differently about. I don't know what how people feel, but so when we do these podcasts and we post our stuff on social media and do these things that we do, we're doing it to make a bold declaration of what we know to be true as independent Scientologists,
Right.
and we're doing it from a perspective that's we're unapologetic about it. Like, and you're not going to fear or shame me into silence,
Yeah.
suppress me into silence. No.
Yeah. And that's an important point to make, because there are an awful lot of people out there on an awful lot of subjects that shame people into not communicating when they themselves know nothing of the subject. Somebody comes up to me and says, well, your origin story is the OT3 story. No, it's not. Where did you get that? Just because
Right.
it's on the internet doesn't make it true. That's not the origin story
That's not the origin story.
by any means. And that's why I want to do that podcast, is to dispel some of this stuff. Not that they're going to hear it, but that's the silly thing, is that there are so many. There was a thing on TikTok last night about a guy who was in the military, and he just hated Muslims. And he went into this when he came back to the US out of the military, he went into a mosque and was planning to put a bomb in there to kill the Muslims. And he was greeted by this woman that was the head of the mosque, and he was so impressed and taken aback. And she showed him the Quran and what it really said, that
Yeah.
he is now, and I'm not using the right term, he is now the executive director of that mosque 30 years later,
Wow.
from blowing
Wow.
it up because somebody took the time to say,
They tell them
look,
the truth.
right, that there's no radical Muslims are radical Muslims, radical Catholics are radical Catholics, radical Lutherans
Right.
are radical Lutherans. They're not the same thing, but somebody has to give a shit and sit down and introduce people to these things, whether it's independent Scientology or the Muslim faith, the Jewish faith, whatever.
Yeah.
Is somebody's got to care and have some affinity for these things and be able to spot this stuff, whatever it is. And that's what we try to do in number 14, is so that it can be understood. That's why we take the time out of our day to do these podcasts. I spent 5 hours from 6 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock on my only day off on Sunday,
Mm.
working on the college, getting these courses put together and set up, now that we have the check sheets, and making sure that everything was understandable by people that are going to see the new online course room and everything, out of my
Amazing.
own time. So I mean, you you have to be passionate about a
Get in a
subject in order to
course.
get something done. Yeah, get in on course.
Yeah. So number 15, to stress the freedom to use Scientology as a philosophy in all its applications and variations in the humanities. This is huge too. To stress the freedom to use Scientology as a philosophy in all its applications and variations in humanities. There's so many valuable nuggets. There's so much valuable data that can be used across the board in the humanities that can be used to benefit. And
Mhm.
so we, as independent Scientologists and who live by this code and operate with this code, we do stress the freedom to use that. You do it. Use it in your business. Use it in your life.
Yeah.
Use it in things that matter to you. Take it to your church. When I was in Atlanta, Georgia, I took it to my church. I was a Christian. Y'all know my story. If you don't know my story, Christian minister, pastor, youth minister, the whole bit, and I would give this tech to my students
Mm-hmm.
in the youth church where I grew just using admin tech, grew the youth church from 13. Well, no, we had 11. We had 11 students first, and then grew it to over 90 students in less than a year just by working this tech and helping them to see so much. Right, they would go and tell their friends at school. They would
Mm-hmm.
invite their friends to come in. So I'm not. So listen, be you. What's true for you is true for you. We support religious freedom, but if you use this right as a
Mm-hmm.
philosophy and all its applications and all its variations in the humanities in your it could do something valuable. It's so
Yeah.
good. I love this.
Right. Well, and as a an opposing example, do unto others as you would have done unto you.
Mhm.
Okay. We have this the same viewpoint in independent Scientology is, you treat others the way you want to be treated. I was,
Mhm.
you know, it's just, whether it's people or animals or the physical universe. I mean, just because there's the name Scientology is on it doesn't make it bad. If it's true, it's true.
Right.
Whether it's Catholicism, whether it's Muslimism, whether it's Judaism, whether it's
He's a
uh
Muslimism. Islam. Right.
Islam. Sorry, well
I
I'm
understand.
on a roll here.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, right. It's so it's and you have to respect that if there's some valuable piece of data in there, it's valuable data. Why should you discount it and have a bias towards it? Because if you have a bias towards it, you've probably done something to that religion that you wouldn't want done to you. Just maybe, just saying.
That's interesting. Just
Mm-hmm.
saying.
Just saying. I'll put that right here.
Okay. So
16.
the number 16. Yeah, go
16.
ahead. You can do it.
To insist upon standard. I can't believe I said Muslimism. I can't believe
It's,
it just
it's
hit me. What an
okay.
idiot. 16. To insist upon standard and unvaried Scientology as an applied activity in ethics, processing, that's auditing, and
Mhm.
administration in Scientology organizations. Yeah,
Standard and unvaried. Oh,
yeah. And that's the thing. If you have a workable system, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. This
hmm
this guy this guy spent the better part of 50 years working out this technology, and it works. And he says it's not the only thing, but it's a workable system, and it works.
yeah.
Find out if it works for you, and if it works, why would you want to change it? And this is something that he fought against forever. And we won't get into the whys on that. I think it's obvious, but there are those out there who just want to change things because they want to change things, and you don't need to do that. You have to insist upon standards. AOGP, we're standard. And just like with that word clearing and everything we did the other day on Zoom, the four of us, we did that
hmm
standardly, and we found words you didn't know you had as
Yeah.
misunderstood. I mean,
Uh,
it's just, you just have to trust the process, and
It was so good.
and that's the thing. And it's just this tiny little thing, just like you did with your youth group. I mean, that
Yeah.
happened all the time, didn't it?
Yeah. Absolutely.
They're just blown
Absolutely.
away.
But and what's interesting about it too is that when I look at this as standard and unvaried, and it's almost like the first part of us, the I'll call the human side of us, wants to feel shame around not knowing something, right?
Mhm.
Oh, you don't know that, and that means you're dumb, or that means you don't know something, you're ignorant, or whatever. I don't know how people feel, but for me, and this is just my thirst for knowledge or whatever. But when I realized I didn't discover it, I was like, oh, I guess I don't know that. What? And I had to go and really, really clear that word for real
Mhm.
because it blew my mind that I didn't have that definition the way I thought I did. And
Mhm.
so I'll just say that to say that when it's standard and unvaried and you're using this technology the way it's intended to be used, you really do get gains from it.
Mm-hmm.
Not to shame or to scold. I was talking to my 2D, and we were talking about in the drills where you use the word flunk. And Larry said, you know, don't be permissive about that. Don't be just wishy-washy, like flunk them.
Mm.
To me, that's funny. To me, it's like, I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm trying to help you, you know.
Yeah,
But
you have to let them know. No, this isn't how this is. Here's the reference. Show them the reference. Let LRH do the talking on it. Don't
right.
don't water it down. Don't change it. That's why verbal data is a bad thing. You get the game of telephone going on. Show him what he says.
Hmm.
You got a problem with something. Take it up with LRH. It either works or it doesn't. And this guy didn't say one thing and something else happened. That's why I do this, is because you do what he says, you get what he says you're going to get every time. Every time. And if it doesn't happen, I got a misunderstood word, concept, or symbol, or several of them there, because it should work and I did something differently. And I'm not a holy roller on this. I'm not dogmatic. I'm just saying, do what he says, you'll get the results. And the results are beyond anything you've ever seen, for the simplest of things, whether it's a touch assist, whether it's make a person sober assist, whether it's clearing a word, whatever. You have to do it the way that he says to do it. And all of this stuff, well, Hubbard got this from this place and Hubbard got this from that place. He was a distiller of information. It doesn't matter whose name's at the bottom of the reference. Does it work? Okay, use it.
Yeah, that's how I feel. Because listen, at the end of the day, I'm not sitting here blowing kisses to Hubbard. Like that's not how it works for me. What
Right.
I'm here having a good conversation with my relationship. I'm here having a wonderful business that's thriving and flourishing and prospering and making money. I'm here living my life, traveling the world, going on cruises, doing these things I want to do because I enjoy it. And how I got there, I use the tech. But it is not. Yeah.
Well, one last thing I want to say about this, and between the two of us, before you discovered Scientology and Dianetics, Independent Scientology and Dianetics, what was your quality of life then to what your quality of life is now? And what relation did taking that information and using it do to your quality of life?
So I just had this conversation with my 2D about this, right? In my relationship. And
Mm-hmm.
I was saying that for me, I was extremely shy. So you guys hear me talking now, right? You hear me talking now, and I've spoken on stages in front of massive amounts of students and people, universities and things like that. But I was extremely shy, anxiety, nervousness. I wore glasses. I had to have when I came out of glasses and I wanted contact lenses, I had to wear they call it toric lenses because I had really bad astigmatism. I
Mm-hmm.
had all this stuff going on. My allergies were kicking my butt. All kind of stuff that was happening. I was literally Steve Urkel. Okay, so if you guys know that character, I was like the Steve Urkel of the bunch. But I, after discovering Scientology, after using the tech, after going through communication courses and drills, after using this, now I'm able to speak to you. I'm able to speak in front of massive amounts of people. I'm able to make money with my voice and my speaking. I'm able to command an audience and get people to do things that would benefit them and help them. I have people who come to me and call on me to get them the help that they need because they want to get out of the condition that they're in. And
Mm-hmm.
I can always say that by me being good on this and knowing what I'm doing with it, and by me making sure that I apply it in my own life, like it's not something I just read out of a book,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's something I actually use. Now we can start to get some real results. So again, this is about really keeping this stuff standard, unvaried, keeping it working, keeping it going, and that's what we wanted to do. I want to go to 17, 18, 19, and 20.
Okay. That leads us, and so did it improve your standard and quality of life in so doing? I just got I had the TR3. I had
Summarily,
to push it again.
summarily,
Okay, good. Me too.
summarily, yes, it absolutely did.
So that makes you want to do 17, which is, go ahead.
to take my share of responsibility for the impact of Scientology upon the world. Absolutely, I do.
Yeah.
Take my
Well,
share of responsibility.
here you are doing a podcast in the middle of the afternoon.
There you go.
Me too. It's for me. It's
3 o'clock in the
9:25
morning in America.
right, 9:25 in the morning in South Africa.
Right.
So that brings us to
Number 18.
18. To increase the
You
numbers
got it.
and strength of Scientology over the world. Well, that's
Mm-hmm.
why we're doing a podcast saying, try this, check this out.
Yeah.
And use it for yourself. Ask questions, post on YouTube, come to the website, watch some of our Scientology girl videos. Watch our we have a couple of the videos. For whatever reason, and we stopped it. People like our video podcasts because it makes us more
Oh, the
real to
live
them. Stuff
video?
yeah, they like the live
Okay.
videos.
Mm-hmm.
And they can see that we're uptone, and they can put a face to a voice and all of that stuff, and that shows them how you can be, and that there is a solution, and there is a solution to everything. And that's what independent Scientology and Dianetics is about. There is a solution to whatever it is that's going on in your life, and if you take this data, you can use it. And we're letting you know as passionately, but yet as delicately and on a gradient that you
Mm-hmm.
can understand that there, you can be happy, you can have a great quality of life, you can have the things that you want to do. 19.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I wanted to say something on that point. Number 18 again, to increase the numbers and strength of Scientology over the world, because I come from a background, Jehovah's Witness, that go door to door and knock on. You guys know that, go door to door, knocking on doors and stuff like that, which that's effective for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, this is to me, this doesn't come from a point of proselytizing, right? Number 18
Right. That's a
doesn't come
good
from a
point.
point of proselytizing, right? To increase the numbers and strength of Scientology over the world. It doesn't come from a point of proselytizing. Like, in other words, ain't nobody coming knocking on your door trying to tell you, hey, have you heard of L. Ron Hubbard? Like, that's not how it works. However, if there's something going on in your life, world, and affairs, if there's something going on in your relationship, if there's something going on in your scene and you need help, we're here. And you come and we have a two-way call. We understand what's going on. We give you some tech or some ways of applying it to make it happen for you. We show you the references. We get you going, and you can take it back to your relationship. I've seen it happen 1,000 times.
Mm-hmm.
You can take it back to your relationship
Mm-hmm.
and make it better. You can take this back to your business and make it better. And if it worked for you there, it can work for you other places. And this is, to me, what number 18 represents, to increase the numbers and strength of Scientology over the world. It's not a point of proselytizing. It's a point of, if you need help, there's more help. If you need help and more people need help, there's more help now, because now you're using it. Okay, good. So now you can help other people. Now they're using it now, and it grows that way. That's how it means to me. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and that's the value of, you don't do something for money. How you make money is you do something for someone because you want to help them. And when you help
Yes.
others, you and the universe, the theta universe, not the physical universe, is forced to respond, to allow your life to be better and to survive better and have a better level of life than you had before. You shouldn't be good just because you want, and I'm just using this as an example. You shouldn't be good just because you want to go to heaven. You should be good because you are good, and you want to be good.
You are good, and you want to do that. You want to be good and do good.
Right. 19.
Number 19, to set an example of the effectiveness and wisdom of Scientology. As a Scientologist, we seek to set an example of the effectiveness and the wisdom that's contained in the subject of Scientology. Like, there's wisdom, there's knowledge. And let me say this, because I did a whole teaching on wisdom. Let me just say this real quick. Wisdom is not just knowledge. Wisdom is knowledge plus strategy.
Mhm.
So it's knowing something and knowing how to use it, knowing something and knowing how to apply it, knowing something and knowing how to work with it. So wisdom is different than just knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you get the wisdom, when you've drilled it over and over and over again. This is why we do drills in Scientology. You drill it over and over again. You've seen it happen with other PCs and clients and stuff in the chair. You've done these things, and now it's a wisdom. It's not
Mm-hmm.
just, oh, I know what I'm talking about because I know what I'm talking about. No, I have a wisdom. I have knowledge with a strategy to help you get to a better result. And so, in my opinion, to set an example of the effectiveness, there you go, and the wisdom, the knowledge and strategy that Scientology can offer to people, it's there to help.
Right. And wisdom and compassion go hand in hand.
Oh, yes,
You
absolutely.
to me that's the crown jewel in wisdom, is to have the compassion to do something about it, and be effective in it, and present it to people in a way, and present yourself in a way that you lead by example. And you you have to do that. And that's wisdom. Lead by
Hmm.
example. Walk, don't just talk the talk, walk the walk, and be able to
Yeah,
take the time out of your day, whether you're making any money with it or not. Is if you help others, they'll help others, and then it just echoes out across all of the dynamics of survival. That's
look,
wisdom.
look, I was just about to say, help me helping.
Yeah,
Help us.
help be helping. And that, know that. And this is one of the points that Hubbard makes early on in Scientology, is that help is a button, and you can approach somebody and you can say,
Yeah,
look, how do you feel about help? And you can tell where somebody is on the tone scale. And they go, well, I don't think people can be helped, because they look at help as betrayal. When you try to help somebody and they're not asking for help, and you can see that they need help, and that's having compassion, and you're being wise about it, they distrust you immediately, because, like, what do you want from this? You want something from me? I'm just trying to help. And
yeah.
that's
But what you want though? What's your intentions?
right.
Which what's your
R-
ulterior motive?
Right. Help becomes betrayal. And that's one of the things that you see about the subject of corporate Church of Scientology, and that they've ruined the term, because it's all about money. When I mean, it still blows me away. And I'm sorry, I know we're running long on this, but I got to say this. It still blows me away that, of all of the independent Scientology practitioners that are out there, AOGP is really the only one. And I'm not just talking about one website. We spend a lot of money every month putting not just the websites up, but paying people to put this data out there for other people to have for free, and in such a way that it's presented the way Hubbard intended it. It's the correct information, and we don't expect anything in return, other than having compassion for our fellow man and or beings and dynamics. That this information is free, keep it so. That's what he said. I didn't say this. Hubbard said this. And that we have to have the wisdom that you have to put it out there and let people read it, use it, apply it, not because you're making anything off of it, but because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah,
We have more and more people every week signing up on YouTube to listen to this podcast, more and more people every week contacting us, wanting help, that were in the church or don't know anything about it, because they're like, man, I have one PC that said, I went with you and I contacted you to get auditing after I'd been in the church, because I saw that you were doing all these things and giving these things away for free, just because. I thought that was profound.
yeah, it's huge.
And that comes to number 20, to make this world a saner, better place. Boom.
That's it.
Mic drop. To make this world a
That's it.
saner, better place.
That
So,
that's the code.
yeah, that's the code right there. And that's all we're trying to do. We're not trying to force feed you on it or anything. And if you don't like the subject and you don't see that it has any value, it's not true for you, then go find something that is. But that doesn't mean that you should berate it, you should complain about it, try to suppress it, and all of that stuff. If you don't know anything about a subject, how in the world can you decry it?
Right.
but people do.
Wow.
Yeah. So all we're trying to do is make this world a saner, better place with independent Scientology and Dianetics, and giving you the tools free of charge on the website that the tech is there. You can find that it works. And then if you want to do a course, a free course, you want to get some auditing, we got 2 free hours of Dianetic auditing. You can try it out. Anybody that does do it with us is blown away how it can change their life just with 1 or 2 hours of regular old 1950s style Dianetics book 1 auditing. And you can see that it
The
makes the world a safer
1950 style. I
1950.
love it.
It's a almost 74-year-old, 75-year-old technology that works if you apply it correctly. And anybody can sit down. You are a testament, Quenton Stroud.
Yeah.
You are a testament to the fact that you can grab a book and put yourself in a position to where, well, the other day you had a gal that was suicidal, and
Yep.
you talked her off a ledge. How many times has that happened just with you using the Scientology communication formula alone? I bet you it's beyond your fingers and
Absolutely.
toes.
It definitely works. And let me say this, and that's, for me, that's where the rubber really meets the road. And I told this story before in another podcast about how this saved my mother's life because she was having a heart attack. And just with two-way comm, asking her some questions, and really spotting what it was that was going on with her, stopped the heart attack. Again, not making any medical claims for nobody, but I'm just saying what my personal experience was. And so for me to have this knowledge and these experiences and then just be quiet about it, it don't work for me. It don't work for me. And so, I'm so glad that we're here. I'm so glad that you guys are tapping in and tuning in. Share this out. So if anybody don't like, I don't know about all that. And let me also say this. If you want to reach out, but might be a little afraid, if you want to reach out but might be a little concerned, a little cautious or whatever, it's normal. New things are new.
Help becomes
But
betrayal.
right, help becomes betrayal. So you like, are they really gonna help me, or are they gonna try to pull in over? Listen, we are very good people, very ethical people. And if you want to reach out to me, feel free. I have no barriers to communication on that. So you can find us on the website. You can find us on the Facebook groups, Independent Scientology, ALGP. Like, do that, tap in and get the conversation going. And we would love to just get in calm with you.
Absolutely. So we're going to close this podcast out. It's a long one, but I think it was a really good coverage of these 20 different codes that we have as independent Scientologists. And if you're wondering why we're independent Scientologists, there's 64 other podcasts that get into that. And we tried to stay on subject here. We're here to help. Get in touch with us. That's all we want to do, is make your life better and help you make others around you, their lives better, through the application of this information, if it's true for you. So for
And saner. Because I don't know, too many other groups. Because a lot of people say we want to help, like, make life better, make the planet better. How many say saner?
Yeah.
That seems to me.
Yeah, when you're an indestructible spiritual being and you're living in a universe that is completely opposite of that, things can get a little wacky every now and then.
Right.
Just sometimes. And
just
if you look,
sometimes.
yeah, I mean, all I have to do is look at the latest news, whatever. But trust me, it can and is a happy place, and we can get you there easily just with the information and understanding that information. So take our hand and we will lead you down that path on a gradient approach and give you the data that you need, whatever's going on in your life. ao-gp.org, the College of Independent Scientology.com. We have a bunch of other websites affiliated with that. Those are the two biggies. And we're also on SoundCloud with all LRH's lectures, transcripts, AI platform, you name it. We have all of his data. It's the correct data, and it's there for you. Just get in touch with us. So for Quenton Stroud and myself and the Scientology Outside of the Church podcast, we'll see you later this week with another installment. and we're going to figure out what that one is. We got a bunch of stuff on deck coming for you in the next couple of weeks. Namaste, and we love you.
Peace.